Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this chat, I'd like to talk about how the very practice of law and jurisprudence is quickly altering not in the favour of white people, and particularly not straight white men. So the madness ideology of the totem pole of victimhood, and the one-legged black lesbian is the most hard done by, and straight white men at the other end of the have this white privilege thing. That this attitude is not just anymore in the gender studies lesbian classroom or something. It's now gone into vast areas of the practice of law, and this means that if you're a straight white male up against anyone else who isn't a straight white male, then you are given a handicap to operate under. You have straight white male privilege, and therefore, no matter what the outcome, if you're in contest with someone that isn't also a straight white male, no matter what the situation, if you're not guilty of any actual crime, you're still guilty ideologically, and you still really should have to pay or suffer a penalty, be punished for your privilege or your straight white maleness, and so on. So this is where it's going, and of course it's insanity, utter insanity, and body politic. Every politician in the Western world should be standing up against this and denouncing it for the madness that it is. But instead, it's getting a lot of support from the body politic, particularly the political parties that are in the pockets of the globalists, because it creates social, it destabilizes society, it crushes white people and demoralizes them, and crushes them financially as well as every other way. So it's something the globalists want, and therefore the politicians are in the globalist pockets, which is most of them, are going along with it. But here's a case that I sort of became involved in, and it'll just illustrate the insanity of the time. I'll give you a quick version of the facts of the case. So the guy, a girl gets pregnant, says to a guy, "Well, I'm not seeing anyone else, so it must be yours." And the relationship was really sort of casual, nothing serious, but she manages to convince him that, yep, you are the only one, must be yours, it's no one else's. He accepts her word for it, and so she moves in. He's got quite a good job, he's well paid and that sort of thing. He's not rich, but he's doing all right. So she moves in with him, lives off his money, drives the car he buys for her, and so on. Anyway, the baby's born, and straight away, he's got some doubts about the paternity of it all. So gets a DNA test done, and sure enough, he's definitely not the guy. So he asks her to go, and is annoyed obviously at the deception, but decides not to say take legal action against her for what is a pretty decent sort of level of fraud. She was clearly seeing on else, she seeing other guys. She knew, or at least on the balance of probability, knew that suspected he might not be the one. So if she'd come clean at the outset, then that could have been sorted out. But she did rather well. She got a lot of money out of him in the interim there. So and then he helped her, get her own place and that sort of thing. So it's not like he was being difficult. He could have been much harder. But anyway, she decides to go and gets legal advice, goes to legal aid. Legal aid decide they're going to pay everything, and you've got to take that damn straight white bastard to court and get him. You teach him a lesson, straight white motherfucker. And so next thing you know, the guy's being dragged into court for paying child support and alimony. And now the woman's conceded that he's not the child. He's got a DNA test to prove it. So how could something like that even get into court? But it's interesting in the pre-trial negotiations and so on, they're constantly harassing this guy. Why don't you just pay? Look, you're doing all right. You've got a good job. You're well paid. Just give her the money. Now they wanted like $2,000 a month, so it's not like it was chump change. So he quite rightly said, "Well, no, go and chase after the guy who's actually the biological father there." But their view was, well, that guy, we're not sure. There's actually a few possibilities to choose from. but none of them really make any money. You know, you're the guy who's making the big bucks. You've never been out of work. You're a nice reliable cash cow. You know, nice walking wallet. So we're going to just keep on at you until you roll over and do what we want. So they're harassing this guy and you know, sending him letters and threatening letters, and they're, instead of, you know, just calling him up and arranging a court, they're sending bailiffs out to summons him. You know, it's a concerted, organised program of harassment to break him. And constantly holding out, look, all right, then if you don't want to pay $2,000 a month, what about $1,000 a month? I mean, don't you want to help? You know, what about, you don't want the kid to go without, do you? It's sort of your fault, really. And how is it his fault? Well, that's not explained. So they're trying to screw him, to screw him for any amount of money they can get out of him, purely on the basis he's a straight white male with a decent job. Now, the reason he's got a decent job is it's because the guy studied hard at school, did well at school, passed his test, went to college, you know, worked hard there, got a good degree. He's you know, got a good job where he works long hours and works hard and makes sure that he's expert in his chosen profession. That's why he's making the money. Not because it was gifted to him, but these government apparatchik sort of hanger-on types, all they understand is that if you've got a good job, it must have been given to you as a gift, because that's all they understand. Anyone that's got a good job that they know of in the government circles has got buddies, and their well-paid job is a gift because they're, you know, they've got connections, or they're ideologically pure and they're good communists or something like that. That's how they see it. So the concept of somebody working hard and doing well and applying themselves and putting in long hours and doing well because of that's not sort of a paradigm they necessarily comprehend. So anyway, the guy doesn't give in, but it ends up getting to court, and I had a look in on a few of the things going there out of academic interest, really. But the way he was treated in court was abominable. The idea that he's been the victim of fraud here to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. So he should be prosecuting the other parties. He has committed no crime. He is guiltless and blameless and so on, but only according to the law and facts and so on. When you look at it ideologically on the victim totem pole, then he's as damn guilty as hell. He's straight, he's white, he's male. Motherfucker's guilty. Let's get him. So this is this was the attitude in the court. The judge was outraged that the guy had got a DNA test. Why did you do that? What for? You know, weren't you thinking of the child and so on? Well, hold on. Go and say that to the actual biological father. Don't harass this guy. He's completely guiltless and blameless. But he was white on a good income. That's what they hated about him. And the judge treated the guy abominably, harassed him and kept on and on at him, and he was effectively the lawyer for the woman. And so when we came to cross-examination of the woman, you know, how many partners did you have? I had a few. How many? You don't have to answer that, says the judge, and you know, and so on and on and on it went. So every time the difficult question came up, that made her look bad, then the judge would jump in and say, no, you don't have to answer that. Effectively, again, the impartial, independent judge was acting as this woman's lawyer, for goodness sakes. And so the guy had no hope, and they just kept on at him. And you know, when the lawyer for the woman was there, well, why do you think that paying $1,000 a month is too much? You know, you're on a good income, you can afford it, you know, why not pay it? Have you heard of social fatherhood? Don't you think do you want this child to go without? Is that what you want? Are you that heartless? And so on. It was constant harassment. And again, the guy is completely guiltless. He's got nothing to do with it. You know, if anything, it should be the reverse. The woman should be the one getting dragged in for fraud and deception and so on. But the bottom line was that he, out of the possible alternatives, and one of them, you know, obviously was the woman was seeing like 3 or 4 guys at the same time. One of them obviously was the one, but they were all sort of, they'd moved interstate, or didn't make much money, never had, were often unemployed, and it was going to be too expensive to track them down and do a DNA test on them to find out which one it was. It was just easier. This guy, we've got him in our gun sights. Let's just harass him until just to escape the constant harassment and the stress and the pressure of it all. He says, okay, look, you can have some money, gee whiz. But they wanted to stick him for like 25 years. So fortunately, the guy was, didn't roll over, but all the evidence that proved that he was not the biological parent, the judge disallowed all of it. I mean, the DNA test, everything, disallowed the lot. Any witnesses the guy had disallowed. So the guy couldn't prove, because the judge just simply wouldn't allow it in what was an outrageous trashing of due legal process and the rules of evidence. But it was an ideological sort of court here. And how they found a judge that was prepared to be so ideological to hear this case, it can't have been an accident. So that has to have been a setup from the beginning. But that's how it played out. Now the guy ended up walking away. But if you look at the money that he's already spent and the cost of the legal fees, I mean, he's out of pocket $150,000 easily. On top of that, the house that house that he owned, the judge gave an injunction that the woman could stay there for like 12 months. Free of charge. So he's got to maintain and upkeep the house, or pay for the mortgage and everything, and she gets to stay there for free. So here's a woman who's committed, in my view, serious fraud, and not only is she not receiving any penalty at all, none, absolutely none. At no stage did the judge even wag his finger at her. So she's receiving no penalty. All the penalties, all the harassment, all the castigation is on this blameless, guiltless guy, just because they're trying to extort, and let's call it what it is, extort money from him. So I see this as being the sort of jurisprudence, the sort of justice that is already infecting many courts and areas of law, and I see it in particular in situations like this where straight white male is in contest with like a woman, or because apparently she was 1/16th Asian. You wouldn't know it looking at her. They even tried to tell him he must be a racist. I mean, I didn't know, you said, how would I know, he said. But look, that was how that played out. And I came away, having watched that, I came away feeling deeply concerned about the direction things are going, and the fact there is no one in either in legal practice, the media, or in government, or in the public. So there's not one single institution that is opposing this. If anything, they're waving it through and giving it the big nod. But it's going to lead to a terrible dark place. And if you're a straight white male, it's not good. So that's my view. You've been with Tastus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.